এতিয়া মই পঢ়িবলৈ লৈছোঁ। এনেকৈ পঢ়ি ভাল লাগে আৰু লাইফত কোনোবাই যেনে চাই থকা নিচিনা, সেইকাৰণে অলপ ৰেচপনচিবল ফিল কৰোঁ। সেইকাৰণে important words of the 20th century. Important words of the 20th century. Russo-Japanese War 1945. The conflict arose from the rivalry of Russia and Japan for control of Manchuria and Korea resulted in the war. Russia was forced to surrender Korea, the Liaotung Peninsula, and the Sakhalin to Japan. Russo-Japanese War 1945. First World War 1914 to 18. International conflict began between Austria and Serbia. The chief contestants were the Central Powers, Germany and Austria, and the Triple Entente, Britain, France, and Russia. Many other countries joined as the war began. War ended with the Treaty of Versailles. Sino-Japanese War 1931 to 33. Sino-Japanese China-Japan 1931 to 33. Two wars between China and Japan, marking the beginning and the end of Japanese imperial expansion on the Asian mainland. The first war in 1894 to 95 arose from rivalry for control of Korea. The second war in 1937 to 45 developed from Japan's seizure of Manchuria. Second World War 1932 or 1939 to 45. International conflict arising from disputes provoked by the expansionist policies of Germany in Europe and Japan in the Far East. The Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and after September 1940, Japan controlled most of Europe and much of Northern Africa, China, and Asia. The United States stayed out of the war until 7 December 1941. The Allies, led by USA, Britain, and USSR, were the victors. In the Second World War. USA, Britain, and USSR. USA, Britain, and USSR. That's Russia. International conflict arising from disputes provoked by the expansionist policies of Germany in Europe and Japan. In the East, the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and after September 1940, Germany, Italy, Japan, most of Europe and much of Northern Africa, China and Asia. The United States stayed out of the war until 7th December 1941. 7th December 1941. The Allies, led by US, Britain and USSR, were the victors. Arab-Israeli War 948 to 949, 956, 967, 973, 974. Arab-Israeli War conflict between Israel and the Arab states up to the surrender of the State of Israel. 14th May 948. Troops from Egypt, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and modern Jordan, invaded the new nation, simmering Arab-Israeli hostilities exploded into war in 967 when Israel, is held by Palestinian guerrillas, launched a massive premier strike against Egypt and Arab world's leading state. Korean War 952-953, conflict between North Korea, supported by China, and South Korea, supported by United Nations forces, dominated by the USA. Negotiations continued for 2 years before a truce was agreed on in July 1953. Korean War 1952-53, conflict between North Korea, supported by China, and South Korea, supported by United Nations forces, dominated by the USA. Negotiations continued for 2 years before a truce was agreed on in July 1953. Vietnam War 1954 to 1975. Vietnam War 1954 to 1975. Conflict between US-backed South Vietnam and Viet Cong, who had the support of Communist North Vietnam. It followed the partition of Vietnam in 1975. South Vietnam was overrun by North Vietnamese forces and the country was united under communist rule. Iraq-Iran War 1980-1990, or began shortly after the Iranian Revolution of 1979. Iraq wanted control over well-raised Iranian border territory. Iran-Iraq War 1980-1990. Shortly after the Iranian Revolution of 1979, Iraq wanted control over well-raised Iranian border territories. Falkland War 1982. Military conflict between Great Britain and Argentina. Great Britain and Argentina were the question of sovereignty over the Falkland Islands led to the war. Britain won the war. Gulf War 1991. Military action by US-led coalition to expel Iraqi forces from Kuwait. Kuwait was liberated 26 February 1991 and ceasefire was declared on 28 February. Bosnian War 1992-98. Ethnically rooted war in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Republic of Yugoslavia, with a multi-ethnic population, Muslims, Serbs, and Croats. US-Afghan War 2001. US-Afghan War 2001. Military action by US against Afghanistan in protest against the 11 September's attack on WTC towers. Gulf War II, Gulf War II, 2003. Military action by US-led coalition to oust Saddam Hussein from 2003. From power in Iraq, it was conducted on the pretext of Iraq possessing weapons of mass destruction. WMD. Frequently asked questions in Indian history. Some answers of it all. Frequently asked questions. Yes. Who was the first Governor General of Bengal? First Governor General of Bengal was Warren Hastings. The Battle of Wandi was 1760 was fought between Wandias, English and France. Battle of Wandias 1760, English and France. Who granted the permission to establish the French victory at Machilipatnam? Who granted the permission to establish the French victory at Machilipatnam? Abdullah Qutb Shah. Abdullah Qutb Shah granted the French to establish victory at Machilipatnam. That is Abdullah Qutb Shah. The trade monopoly of East India Company was ended by which act? The trade monopoly of East India Company was ended by Charter Act of 1833. Charter Act of 1833 made the trade monopoly of East India Company end. Sir Thomas Roe visited the court of which Mughal Emperor? Jahangir. Sir Thomas Roe visited the court of Jahangir's emperor. Mughal Emperor, that is Jahangir. In which year was Harappan civilization discovered? Harappan civilization was discovered in 1921. 1921. Harappan civilization, the water management system of Harappan times has been unearthed at water management system of Harappan times has been unearthed at, that is Tholabhira. Water management system of Harappan times has been unearthed at Tholabhira. Which animal was not represented on the shields and terracotta art of the Indus Valley civilization? That obviously will be cow. Which animal was not represented on the shields and the terracotta art of the Indus Valley civilization? That was cow. Which Governor General is associated with doctrine of lapse? That is doctrine of lapse. That is Lord Dalhousie is associated with doctrine of lapse. Governor General. Which place was the capital city of Tipu Sultan? Srirangapatnam. Srirangapatnam was the capital city of Tipu Sultan. Srirangapatnam is the capital city of Tipu Sultan. Patanjali is known for the compilation of which book? Patanjali is known for the compilation of Yoga Sutra. Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Which Veda contains an account of musical psalms and spells? 12. That is Atharva Veda. Which Veda contains an account of musical psalms and spells? That is Atharva Veda. Musical psalms and spells, that is Panin Atharva Veda. Musical psalms and spells, Atharva Veda. And in ancient India, the earliest capital of Magad kingdom was at Rasgir, Girivaraja. In ancient India, the earliest capital of Magad kingdom was at Rasgir, Girivaraja. Magad kingdom, Rasgir, Girivaraja. A Buddhist council during the reign of Ashoka was held at, that is Patliputra. Buddhist council during the time of Ashoka was held at Patliputra. Where did Lord Buddha breathed his last? That is Kushinagar. Who founded the independent Sultanate of Bengal? When did the independent Sultanate of Bengal? Murshid Quli Khan. Murshid Quli Khan founded the independent Sultanate of Bengal, who is known as Nigantha Nataputra. Nigantha Nataputra was known by Bardhaman Mahavira. Nigantha Nataputra. Chinese traveler Xu Wenxiang studied at which university? Chinese traveler Yuan Xing studied at Nalanda University. Under which system of assessment the Britishers collected revenue directly from the farmers? That was rotary system, which meant the Britishers collected revenue directly from the farmers. We studied the Public Works Department in India, 1848. As the Public Works Department was started by Lord Dalhousie. Public Works Department was started by Lord Dalhousie, who gave the theory of economic drain in his book Poverty and the Un-British Rule in India. That is Dadabhai Naoroji. Megasthenes was an ambassador of which Greek king? Megasthenes was an ambassador of Seleucus Nicator. The Greek king who came with Alexander. The division of modern society in 7 classes is particularly mentioned in his book. The division of modern society in 7 classes is particularly mentioned in his book 23. Indica of Megasthenes. Yes, Indica of Megasthenes. In Indica, the modern society in 7 classes is particularly mentioned. Who was the first modern ruler to conquer Deccan? First modern ruler to conquer Deccan was Bindusara. Who was the first modern ruler to conquer Deccan? That was Bindusara. Who was the first to decipher the Brahmi script of Asoka? That was James Princip was the first to decipher the Brahmi script of Asoka. Saraka was the famous court physician of which king? Saraka was the famous court physician of Kanishka. The first Governor General and Viceroy of India. Governor General and Viceroy of India was William Bentinck. Sorry. The first Governor General and Viceroy of British India was 28. Lord Canning. The first president of All India. The first president of All India Trade Union Congress was Lala Lajpat Rai. The first president of All India Trade Union Congress, Lala Lajpat Rai, and the first Governor General and Viceroy of British India, Governor General and Viceroy of British India was Lord Canning. Governor General and Viceroy of India, British India, Lord Canning. Which Chinese general defeated Kanishka? Pen Zhao. Chinese general defeated Kanishka. Pen Zhao. Who was the founder of Patini cult related to worship of Kannagi? Singativan was the founder of Patini cult related to worship of Kannagi. The silver coins of Gupta period were known as Rupiaka. The silver coins of Gupta period were known as Rupiaka. The second session of Indian National Congress was presided over by second session of Indian National Congress was presided over by Surendranath Banerjee. Second session of Indian National Congress was presided over by Surendranath Banerjee, who was the first Muslim president of Indian National Congress. That is Badaruddin Tayabji. Badaruddin Tayabji was the first Muslim president of Indian National Congress. Badaruddin Tayabji, first Muslim president of Indian National Congress. Badaruddin Tayabji, who was the first Indian to become member of the British Parliament.